everybody, and welcome back. If you are not a newcomer to our show, if you are a newcomer, we're sorry. No, I'm kidding. This is the month it's going to be, just letting you know. You guys do like these months where we're completely unhinged. So we've been at it for about a half an hour before we even started recording. You're going to love it this month. We've got easy zebras, we've got dinosaurs, we've got pet peeve. I mean, we are completely off the chain this month. You're going to love it, I promise. You'll want to hit that subscribe button right down there. And trust me, we want you to leave comments on this video because then it gives Melissa something to tell us. So, for those of you, again, who haven't been here, this is Ham Talk, and we are sponsored by the absolutely wonderful Hamsters Weak Signal group, and we appreciate them doing that because otherwise we couldn't have our show every month. So, thank you so much. Greg is a big part of that. For once, I'm going to let Greg introduce himself first.
Wow, I don't know how to behave. Greg, N5XO.
And then we have Miss Andrea.
Kilo 2 Echo Zulu.
No.
And her alternate call sign.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, yeah. She's known as Easy Zebra now, people. I hope you are taking notes because that is going to stick.
That's got to be the most...
For Christmas, we want to send every pack of like that. Remember that jungle stripe gum with the zebra on it? Send them all to Andrea.
That's got to be the most confusing phonetic combination ever for my call. Easy zebra. Right? Easy.
And then we have Miss Melissa.
Hi, KI5ICQ.
And JD is missing this month. Hopefully he'll swing by during the recording. If he doesn't, we'll see him next month. And I am your host, Sam Henley, KE0LMY. Now, we, as I've already said, have been very off the chain this month. So we are going to be doing some interesting things. Now, Greg has the most entertaining part, which is pet peeve. And we absolutely want to hear some pet peeves. So the first thing that we are going to do is jump right into Greg's segment about his pet peeves about amateur radio.
Things you're probably going to be sorry you heard. Greg, N5XO for Ham Talk, and we're going to get a little preachy coming out of our shack today. The Bible and the Golden Rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This means treat others as you want to be treated. Unfortunately, in general society today and within our beloved hobby, this golden rule is often forgotten and ignored. How often have you heard a supposed older experienced ham rudely attacking a brand new ham for some slight, real or imaginary? How many of us seem to forget that we used to be ignorant of many aspects of the hobby as well, and we required somebody to guide us? We used to have some characters here in the San Antonio area who bragged about abusing new hams. They were extremely degrading to them. The level of abuse should not happen to your worst enemy. They claimed they were making people better hams by abusing them. Did they really? No. In fact, they drove more people out of the hobby than they ever promoted. When you hear a new ham making mistakes, guide them, help them learn. That is what mentoring is about. Most importantly, remembering you were young and dumb once, and someone had the patience to help you overcome your lack of knowledge. Amateur radio is a very complicated and diverse hobby, and I think most of us want to see it continue to grow and flourish. We cannot do that if we do not offer friendly, supportive, and encouraging environment. So, let's work it. Genesis 2.7, then the Lord formed man from dust of the ground, and when we become silent keys, to dust we will return. In between our periods of dust, let's not spend our lives living as dust bunnies. Let's get out there and help change the hobby for the best. Be active. How can we as individuals improve the hobby? Well, to start with, we can make contacts easier. Use standard phonetics when making a contact. If your call sign is N5XO and you're saying nice 5 extras only, the odds of the station with an English as a second or third language is going to have a hard time knowing what in the world you're saying. Use standard phonetics, November, 5, X-ray, Oscar. They're standard. People are calibrated right here to using them. When you change them up, they may sound cute and fancy, but they cause problems. We have a couple of people who live in apartments in this area, and they enjoy simplex and 146.5.2 operating. So they've set up a remote station on 5.2 and use crossband to operate. There's nothing wrong with this. It's not like they're running a repeater, feeding links into it or anything. It's simply their ability to connect, and about 4 or 5 people use it. But on numerous occasions, I've listened to people who, for some reason, are very triggered by this and have gone on for hour-long rants against this supposed slight against their sensibilities. Why? Before you get angry at someone or something, ask, how does this impact me? In the case of the ham crossbanding, to give himself access to expand his station, how is this harming you? Why does this offend you to the point of turning into a raging lunatic? Personally, setting up a remote station someplace shows ingenuity, and I give them praise for overcoming an obstacle. Rather than allowing something that has no negative impact upon you, direct that anger and rage into something useful and help train new hams to build a better station, a club station that can be remoted into, or develop a new repeater for the area. But we are too offended today, and far too many people look for a reason to be offended. I would rather see our energy and focus designed to promote our hobby and encourage more people to join and grow the hobby. Personally, this is an exciting hobby for me. The magic's still there after 50 plus years. Now, let's go ahead and go some things that offend me personally. I'll not cut everything out. Even I get offended at times, but let's turn it in. What causes me to go into a rage? Well, I'm not going to abuse people and actually fly into a rage, but I do express my opinion. I think clubs that encourage brand new hams to get cheap HTs or any HTs as a first radio is doing them a very big disservice. I've seen a lot of brand new hams who think that any radio is going to let them talk great distances to people all around the globe. And an HT, unless close to another station or a repeater, is doomed to fail and cause the new ham to fail. So let's encourage a good mobile or QTH station as the first. There are many economical options for this, and in the end, we'll see much more activity, and that ham is going to flourish and be excited by what he's doing instead of frustrated at not being able to communicate with anybody. Some of the greatest friends and people I have ever met over my lifetime has centered around amateur radio. Some of the worst people I have met in my lifetime have come from ham radio. Only we can change and improve the quality of mentoring that we provide. Be a good elmer to everyone, old ham and new ham alike. There's a lot of elderly hams. They're a little bit more trouble, with age. They can't operate some of the things like they used to. Help them out. All right, Greg, N5XO, off my soapbox, and I'm out of here.
And I get to go first because I don't want anybody to steal mine. And my number one pet peeve is when you are running a contest or special event and people key up on the frequency you've been using for hours. They know you're there. They're doing it on purpose. Either they're trying to drive you off of your frequency or whatever. But I had a really good recommendation from a longtime amateur radio operator. Ignore them. I know that sounds really silly and odd, but I had him tell me, take somebody that you worked earlier and pretend like you're reworking them and that you can hear them, but the interferer cannot hear them. So that has worked fantastic. I've worked with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway special events. I've worked our own Damn Amateur Radio Club special events. I've worked, wow, I've worked a lot of special events. And I have used that tactic every single time, and they just wander off because they're not getting attention and they're not getting the whatever it is that they're looking for, either to drive you off the band or to cause an issue. So use that tactic. It works. Andrea, what is your pet peeve?
My pet peeve, well, this is my peeve and I'm petting it. My pet peeve, I think I will say, is people that insist on using one set of phonetics and repeat that set of phonetics when it's long been demonstrated I am not understanding those phonetics, be those the standard phonetics, be their own. It's equal opportunity. If you know, people have different accents and certain phonetics just don't come across to me. So people who just keep repeating it and won't try something different.
And just so you know, that's where we found out about Andrea's alternate phonetics for her call sign, Easy Zebra. So I'm sorry, Andrea, but that is going to stick forever. I am going to find a way to get you the coolest Christmas present. Now, Greg, we got to hear all about your pet peeves, so I'm skipping you. All right, MLisa is very new to amateur radio, so she may not have had time to develop a pet peeve or two, but let's check and see. MLisa, what do you think?
The only thing I can think of is somebody who stays on the radio for, you can't get a word in edgewise. So especially for people who are new or already shy, you know, and, you know, somebody new is not going to just jump on and take over the airwaves or anything. So we're already trying to figure out, like, how can I say something, you know, because you don't want to butt in on a, you don't want to butt in on a conversation and stuff. So it's just, that would be my only thing.
I would go with that one too as well, particularly when they're not necessarily leaving a gap for somebody to jump in. That's a bigger thing on repeaters than in simplex or on HF. But
real ham shouldn't use repeaters. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, Greg, I'm going to make you be quiet again. You're going to lose your #1 priority on this one if you don't quit.
But basically, you know, somebody that's going and you're thinking like of joining in or something. And I know how that is, because I mean, for gosh, a long time of my amateur career, I stuck on CW because I knew that. And jumping in on a sideband conversation or calling CQ just seemed really weird. I've somehow gotten over that, but it took me decades, to be honest.
A really good piece of advice I was given, I was fortunate enough, I had an Elmer, and I know not a lot of people have that. That's kind of like a mentor to amateur radio operators who are new. I had an Elmer, and they taught me you have to work in breaks. Even if you're having a good conversation or things are happening, you need to be cognizant of the fact that there could be other people who are just working up, like MLisa said, the courage to even key the mic, because mic fright is a very real thing. That's another thing that could fall under my pet peeves, is the people who, even if the person is because the person is brand new, they just don't think that they should be on the radio talking. Well, guess what? They're never going to be experienced if you don't give them a chance.
You know, to add in on that, a big thing that I've heard a lot, it's calmed down somewhat in San Antonio, but there are a lot of people that hear a brand new ham and they get on and scream at them, criticize them and everything for stupid little mistakes. And if you stop and think, we all made those same stupid little mistakes.
So why do you keep yelling at them, Greg?
I'm a grumpy old man.
You know, I to this day it was yesterday. I transposed numbers in the freaking something I was supposed to be saying and had to correct myself, you know, and here I've been on the radio for over 5 years. Okay. I know that's not a lot of time to Greg the dinosaur, but
Yeah.
you know,
I was
years.
yeah,
And
I was gonna say
5 years old.
Stop interrupting her.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm just, you know, I just figured it would be a shoe-in for me because, you know, I've had a radio in my, you know, the Motorola radio in my ear for 20 years, but the phonetics are different and you got to learn the protocol and it's totally different. So for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, I'm kind of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm radio shy. It just, I'm the kind of person that I don't want to screw up when I say something.
And the thing is, you should be people, ham radio operators in particular, with it being a dying hobby, should be more welcoming, because if we don't make way for those people, let them have the ability to make mistakes and learn, teach them without belittling them. If we don't do that, this hobby really will die out.
Well, I would agree, but the times that we're in right now, you know, there's people pouring in. There's people pouring into this, you know, realm. So I think that's a good thing. You know, it's good and bad, but
yeah. Hey, I'm excited. This is the most MLisa has talked on a show in like a year. Okay.
I mean, there's sad hams everywhere, you know, that are gonna, you know, kind of bark or scold at people.
Well, there's just some people that are miserable and they want to make everybody around them miserable. But
yeah, you just
I have never understood taking a brand new ham that just got, we had one here a couple years ago. It was his very first contact. And this guy jumped all over him because he said comment instead, or break instead of comment. And don't you learn anything? Break is just for emergencies. You got a goddamn emergency, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Wow.
I finally got on and I sat there and I said, you know what's worse is the person with no life that he's got to scream at people.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of unhappy people, and you're right. We're not going to grow if we don't welcome.
I think it'll be fine. I think enough people are dumping into the ham radio, the amateur radio world.
This is not a dying hobby. It's growing constantly. And stuff. Well, here comes the dog again.
Hey, I know what you should do. You should put him in a dinosaur costume. That way I get my dinosaur every month. And he can come and join the show.
For him. He's a hefty guy. But hey, guess what? It's time for the net in 30 minutes. That's
okay, yeah.
Reminder. But
and who else has segments this month? Oh, I got to go to MLisa for the right. All right. So next we're going to do comments from MLisa. I know you guys do occasionally put comments down on our videos like we asked. So what do you have for us, MLisa?
Okay. I have a few from about a month ago. And this is from Dale Ricketson 6461. He says, "Hi all, great show, y'all. Your station is looking great, Greg. The weather in Jim Wells County, Texas is in the low 70s and 40s. Greg introduced me to weak signal UHF, VHF. From then on, I was hooked. I was always told that UHF, VHF was line of sight. When I made my first SSB contact to Florida, I was amazed at the ability to make DX contacts on UHF, VHF via tropo. I also love sporadic e-contacts on 2 meters in the summer. Great info on emergency comms. I have been trying to set up an informal neighborhood comm net on FMRS formers or emergency situations. There have been a few times here where we've had bailouts and communication with neighbors that it would have been better through the radios rather than the phones. Enjoy the show and keep up the great work. 73.
Awesome.
Scott, say again.
I said that's awesome, and we love to.
Thank you.
We're trying different things.
Yeah. Scott Litfin 5832 says, I run 10 gigahertz and my favorite mode is rain scatter. There are folks in the microwave circles that have made contacts out to 600 to 800 kilometers via rain scatter while running anywhere between 2 and 10 watts. I run 2 to 3 watts into a converted DirecTV dish with 34 dB gain, measured on an antenna range at a microwave update conference quite a few years ago, and thus about 6,000 watt ERP. And for us noobs, that is effective radiated power. And Mike McDonald comments on Andrea's Eclipse clip. Sounds like we need Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Ham song played.
All right, Andrea, you have to sing. Get to it, Easy Zebra.
Anyway, yeah, that's it.
I like that. On a record, I met Dale through some band openings. He's 168 miles south of me in Alice, Texas. A couple times on 5-2 during some band openings. And then we kind of became friends. I traveled a lot through Alice going to McAllen. And every time I'd go down there, we'd talk. And we'd talk about an hour before I'd drive back out of range. And the entire conversation was preaching weak signal operation and sideband. Took me about 1.5 years to get him to do it. And I pulled over one day. I brought some antennas down for him, and we did a highway swap on the middle of the highway, giving him some stacked beams. But Dale's made a lot of good contacts, and he certainly fell in love with it shortly after that.
So to recap what we've learned this month, Andrea's an easy zebra. Greg does swaps and exchanges on the sides of highways. MLisa has actually talked more than ever, and I'm so excited about that. And for once, I get to be quiet. And as for whether or not I have a segment, we're all going to be surprised to see if that happens. I actually have a 991A that I am thinking about mounting in my vehicle. And if I do, that means I'll be all rover-like Andrea. I want to be like Andrea when I grow up.
What are you driving? You got enough room for antennas?
I don't think so. I don't think I have enough room for antennas. I think I'm going to have to get a bigger truck. But it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. And if we don't, you guys are going to get to see the drama anyway.
Well, here's what you can do. You can drive down to Brenham, Texas, hang out with Andrea for a week, and have her find and put your antennas in.
There we go. See, it's all starting to align. None of you know that, but it's all starting to align, just like the Eclipse. Just look out for it, because it's going to be powerful when it happens. So we actually, I guess that's everything for the show this month.
No.
You don't like Andrea?
What's
Andrea?
that?
What's yours?
Well, I have a full segment this show.
What's your segment this month?
Well, Okay, so some, like Mike, saw my little 1 minute short, but I have a full 10-minute segment about the eclipse with a little bit more information. And
Okay, cool.
so let's go to that.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do, a total eclipse of the...
By now, most of you have heard about the upcoming solar eclipse on April 8th. And if you haven't heard about it, well, there's a solar eclipse coming April 8th. This will be the first time since 2017 there will be a total solar eclipse across the continental United States. Even if you're not in the area of totality, it will be viewable to some degree. The area of totality will stretch from Texas across through to Ohio, and then across the northern border all the way up through Maine. As this eclipse approaches, you will hear many, many warnings about safety. Those are important warnings, and they will generally direct you to wear some sort of glasses like these to safely view the eclipse. One reason safety is such a concern is that your normal aversion to looking at the sun, you look at it and it hurts, you turn away. Well, as you get further into the eclipse and most of the sun is gone, you won't experience that aversion, and it becomes easy to actually look at the sun. But the areas that are still exposed around the moon are more than enough to cause damage to your eye. So you have to play it safe. Now, one message that gets lost in all the discussions about safety is that if you're going to be in the zone of totality, when the eclipse reaches totality, you take these off. You look at the eclipse directly. In fact, if you have the safety glasses on, you won't be able to see the eclipse at all at that point. And when I was very young, I missed an opportunity to view a total solar eclipse in totality because at 5 years old, I heard all these dire warnings about not looking at the eclipse, that when it got dark and it reached totality, I literally did not even look at the sky. I just kept looking at the ground. So it is important and very much in the experience to fully enjoy the experience in totality. You do have to take the glasses off and you look directly. In fact, you can look through telescopes directly at the eclipse during totality. Before and after, even really close before or really close after, you have to have a solar filter on a telescope. The last thing you want to be doing is looking through a telescope when it reaches end of totality. Beginning of totality is easy to find. If you're wearing these glasses, you're not going to be able to see anything. You might want to give it some seconds of margin before you take it off. There are some apps available for phones that will tell you the exact times when it's in totality and when you're running out. You definitely want to time it so you're not looking when it ends totality. You can expect totality to last upwards of a little over 4 minutes in certain parts of Texas. If you're very far up in the Northeast, it may only be a couple minutes. Of course, that assumes that you're in the center of the zone of totality. If you're at the edges, the time will be less. Now, I want to emphasize something here. If you've never seen totality or been and looked at an eclipse directly, it is a totally different experience of the time leading up to and after totality, or an annular eclipse, or any eclipse where you need to keep these glasses on the entire time. Once you reach totality and you can look at it directly, what you will see is like a black hole. You'll see dark, blacker than black up in the sky with the corona shimmering. Think about the fact that the light leaving the sun is moving at the speed of light. The particles coming off are at a significant fraction of light. So even though there are big distances involved, that corona is shimmering, and that is a sight to behold. I've never seen a photo that has done it justice. So if you're not going to be in the area of totality, especially if you're close, you may want to make a point of getting into where you can view it at totality. It is a totally different experience, and again, that's not a message that gets out there. A lot gets lost over the discussions of safety. Now, where can you view the eclipse? Obviously, moving into an area of totality, but I mean that in what kind of location is good. For myself, on the 2017 eclipse, I went and viewed from a Walmart parking lot. My choices were very simple. It was easy to access, it was free, there were restrooms, there was food. And so I planned to get there early. I did not know what the traffic was going to be like. I set up in a distant part of the parking lot, where I had a clear view of the sky. I got in, got some food, gave them some business. So if they came out and talked to me, I'm like, yeah, I got some stuff here. I wanted to be nice to them, so they'd be nice to me. One of the downsides in this area was during totality, some of the lights that work off of light sensors started to turn on. It turned out not to be a great big problem. As the eclipse time got closer, I could see traffic on the road building up as people were trying to get in. It turned out there was quite a bit of traffic, and my plan to get there about 4 hours early did pay off. Right after the eclipse, you can expect a lot of traffic. It was pretty much stop and go for a long period of time. But anyway, the point I wanted to make about the Walmart, it made it relaxing for me. There was comfort because there was restrooms. I saw a lot of places that had open fields that were charging people $10, $20 to go get a spot in the field. And there were clearly no restrooms. There were no portable facilities. I could see that was going to be an uncomfortable day. You might be tempted to also look at photography or telescopes to view it. And that's okay. Hopefully you have some experience in those areas trying to figure it out at the time of the eclipse isn't good. Be sure to have sun shields for your camera. If you're going to have it looking at the sun anytime before or after totality, similarly for your telescope. One of the headaches you may discover on telescopes is that how do you use your viewfinder? How do you get it aligned so it's looking at the sun? That was one that I encountered. Looking directly at the sun was not possible. I could have kind of looked up the barrel with these glasses, but that would have been very crude. The method I ended up using was minimizing the shadow from the telescope on the ground. And I was able to do that. At first I tried using the barrel of the entire scope, but later, due to the viewfinder configuration, I was able to use that. And here's a little bit of video of how that looked while I was doing that. While getting some pictures, using a telescope can be fun, and I certainly for the time leading up to the totality and after, and there's a lot of time there. It's not a very fast event. I had plenty of time to play with those, but once it hits totality, there's not a lot of time. and I did get some good photos through my telescope, some good viewing through the telescope. But perhaps the best part of the experience was looking with my naked eye at the corona. And no matter what you plan on doing during the eclipse, with the telescopes or cameras, I do say take some time to look with your naked eye. Nothing that you're going to record is going to match that memory, and that's the best thing I could say for viewing the eclipse. So I hope when it comes, you all have a chance to enjoy it. That's all I've got to say. This is Kilo 2 Echo Zulu, roving reporter for Ham Talk.
Yeah, where are you going to be during the eclipse?
I'm going to look at the weather and find out where the weather is going to be good. And I'm going to get there. Nominally speaking, given where I am here in Brenham, Temple, Texas
Nice.
will get me a little over 4 minutes of totality, and that's less than 2 hours away from here. Waco, Texas isn't that far from there, but I figure I'll have to take a look. My preferred spot is a Walmart parking lot. Absolutely. and I do explain. I've explained that why in my clip back there. So,
well, we're going to be doing the eclipse from the ranch, and it started out with about 5, 6 high school friends, and kind of a little mini 47-year, yeah, I'm old, reunion. And somehow or another, that's grown to 13, 14, 15 people, maybe more. And that with the traffic that they're predicting, because they're saying 1.3 million people are on the roads. I'm afraid I'm going to have a whole lot of guests for a while.
Do you guys recall the last time I think we had a view here through Missouri of the partial eclipse, and it was absolute chaos. So I will be working.
So the 20,
you guys can have fun.
Yeah, 2017 was the last total solar eclipse, which was really quite recent because before that it was a long dry spell of total eclipses on the continental US. But 2017, and this is why I'm going to watch the weather, because if I need to get up to like the Dallas area, which will have different weather than, Waco, or into Arkansas or Ohio, if I have to, I will head up that way. But in 2017, I was planning on seeing it in Wyoming, thinking clear skies were likely there, high elevations would be good. Where did I end up seeing it? In the eastern part of Tennessee, because the forecasts were not so good across the whole country, and that's where the odds were best, and that's where I went.
So how'd it work?
It worked great.
Awesome.
That one, it was great viewing. I got 4 hours early at a Walmart, so I had restrooms, I had food. But I just told you all that in my segment, and enjoyed it. And a lot of people, that parking lot filled up, but as I was driving out there that morning, there were people, farmers' fields, charging $10, $20 for this spot out in the field to watch. And I'm like, there's not even a porta-john there. This is going to be miserable. And so
there are ranches around us that are charging $75 to $150 for per day. Like that.
Yeah.
No.
What if it's cloudy there?
You get screwed.
Y'all be with all that, and I'll be dealing with the insane people that are causing all the emergencies. And I'll record some of that so that we can show you the other side of it.
I have to be at work Tuesday morning. So our plan is to go up Friday, stay at the ranch the whole time, have our house guests come up if they can make it through the traffic. And then Ruth and I are going to get up at 3 a.m. Tuesday and haul butt back. I'll drop her off and go to work.
Yeah.
Because I'm not fighting that traffic out there. Andrea,
It
more power to you.
should not be too bad prior to the eclipse. It'll be elevated, but people move into that area over a period of time.
Yeah.
Where it's really bad is when that eclipse is over, they're all moving at the same time. That's when chaos starts.
Better have your strategy.
Ruth and I are going to figure out which house guest decided that they don't want to brave it going home, figure out how we're going to sleep all these extra people, and then we're going to go ahead and get up at 3 a.m. and come home. I figured nobody will be on the road at 3 a.m. But at least I got a bed with me, so I'm happy on that. All right.
Yep.
It's almost time for our net. If you're in the San Antonio area, you should be every Monday at 7 p.m. on 146.520 for CQ52. It's a weekly net out of the San Antonio region with check-ins from Waco to Mexico. So if you're in the area, join us.
All right, so final thoughts. Let's go to MLisa first because she finally got to talk so much this time. So what do you have for us, MLisa?
It's just been crazy busy. But somehow through all of it, I was able to get my Tram 1481 antenna down, completely disassembled, dried, put back together, sealed up really good. So, and we just had 3+ days of rain and thunderstorms and lightning and all that, and it made it through, and I'm good. So I'm excited.
Hey, that's
You
good
did that
news.
all by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Except for the last part, because like, when it starts getting up about 50 feet, and I need, needed
I
a
was
little bit.
impressed when you told me that because I remember what we went through putting it up.
Yeah, I did everything that I needed to do except for like the last few sections, going up without the guy wires. Coming down, the guy wires are still attached. So yeah.
Hey, I'm proud of you. You did something I haven't done, and I'm sure not going up that high. All right, Andrea, final thoughts?
Well, first of all, my little visitor there that was hung around, her name is Brownie. That's my Maine Coon cat. And I was also going to mention in response to the comment there about the 10 gigahertz, I do outside the IC905, which I've yet to install in the car. I do have a 10 gigahertz portable setup, and with 2 watts and about 34 dB gain measured at an antenna range at Microwave Update Conference like 3 or 4 years ago. And I've worked about 500 kilometers stations with that using rain scanner, in fact. So that's a nice mode. And just as an aside, at the local club meeting in New Jersey, I demonstrated that setup where I cooked a hot dog with the 2 watts and the 7.5 kilowatts ERP that I had.
Let me ask a question. What dish are you using?
Like I know, it's silver.
Okay.
I think it's
highly recommend the silver dish.
if you look at Directive Systems, they have a dual feed, so it's a 5.7, 10 gigahertz dual feed, and I think they sell the same dish feed combination is sold there, but I got it used, so it doesn't have a label on it. So
I've done rain scatter once. I love the audio on it.
It's not so bad on FM.
But
I was doing CW on it, so.
All right, Greg, final thoughts.
I have nothing to say. I did it all. Oh, I did it.
Whoa. We
Okay.
had a reversal of roles here. MLisa talked and Greg shut up. What happened?
I'm
All
feeling
right.
sad.
My final thought is I am actually happy to hear that we are getting a lot of new amateur radio operators. We don't want this to be a dying hobby. We want it to flourish. We want people to understand what a great resource it is and what a great tool it is to reach out and make friends across the country, because if it wasn't for ham radio, literally none of this would exist. I wouldn't have met any of my co-hosts here on Ham Talk. I wouldn't have done any of the things I've been able to do that actually got me started in emergency management. So it is wonderful, in my opinion, to hear that we are gaining more than we're losing. So that's my final thought for this month. And whether or not I have a segment, just watch. All right, everybody. Once more, thank you to the Hamsters Week Signal Group for sponsoring our show. And if you liked what we did and like what we do, please subscribe to our channel. Leave us comments, because your comments help to drive the show and let us know what you're interested in hearing about. We'll hassle Greg and make sure that he puts all of the links and the hashtags and everything else in our section down there. But he's been a good boy this month, so I won't harass him too much. I even let him go
something out real quick. Share. Videos.
Absolutely. Let's get our number count up. Let's see how many of these brand new hams we can bring around, because we do touch on not only the more advanced stuff that Greg and Andrea are able to bring to it, but the newbies, the new guys. Hey, come on in, take a look and see that it's not all about people who aren't going to welcome you to the hobby. We're very welcoming. We want you to be here. So thank you for joining us, 73, and see you next month.
73, everybody.